Hi, entrepreneur. This is Mark Newsom, Mr. Marketing. Welcome to this special presentation entitled Just Because There's an Economic Recession. Entrepreneur, that is no excuse not to make money. Installment number 4. Ladies and gentlemen, in part 4 of this video series, you're going to discover even more money making strategies and things you and I can and should do right now to take advantage of the so called economic recession. Because remember, just like we said in part 1 of this video series, think of a closed balloon. You squeeze one side and simultaneously what's happening to the other side. That's right. It's expanding for a little while. That's right. Now, here's what I want you to think about. In part 1, I told you about this incredibly dynamic entrepreneur who some of you no doubt would know the name, their company's name. This gentleman made a fortune because he did use something called the discount media market standby rates. This guy found out that these major, and I'm ladies and gentlemen, we're talking major newspapers, radio stations, and major magazines like Entrepreneur Magazine. Now they don't advertise this up front, but the people in the know exactly what I'm talking about. But what this gentleman started doing was he could buy up what they call standby rates, and because these companies didn't want to run a public service ad or just have obviously they're not going to have a blank spot in their publication or some dead radio time, unsold radio time, or big giant spot that should have something in the newspaper blank. They're happy to sell these spaces for cash at 10, 20, 30, 40 cents on the dollar, what they would normally get, provided you don't mind when they run the ads. See, that's the catch. People that pay these retail, they have a certain time, and they normally pay 3, 4 months in advance, and then they run their ad. Well, the standby says, hey, if you don't care when we run it, now it's not going to be something like 6 months from now, just so you're clear, but the point is, this guy didn't care. So what he would do is he would buy this stuff up on the pennies on the dollar. And originally how he got into this is what he started doing. He would go through, say, magazines, and he would find companies that have advertised one time. He would contact them as long as they were a solopreneur. In other words, this was a multi-giant corporation where he went through layers of bureaucracy. But as long as he could contact the owner fairly easy, he would ask them, basically interview them about the process. What happened? How much money did they run on the ad? And typically, this was the case. In far too many cases, it was a professional of some kind who had an idea about a business, a product, or service, and they paid retail for an ad. So in this case, let's say they spent $22,000. It might have been $50,000. It could have been as much as $100,000 for some of these corporations. But they gross less than the ad, cost them. So they couldn't continue to run the ad, which was good for this guy because what he did was he tied up literally millions of dollars, and he also worked with a company that did the same thing, only they did it with these late night infomercial cable TV time. They would literally buy up millions of dollars worth of this cable time, and they would look for companies who ran infomercials once or twice who couldn't make money on the front end, and then they would negotiate an arrangement with them. Well, that's what this guy was doing, but he was just doing it with standard advertising rates. Well, the short of it is, because he could tie up these discounted rates, he would run the ads again, and sometimes he would tweak them, test the headline, put a different bonus, a guarantee, et cetera, et cetera. He was a marketer, he had a publishing company. The point is, this guy was making a ton of money in what he called the spread. So here's the point. Because this gentleman also, his company gave offline boot camps, here's what he started doing in his boot camps. He would turn around in some of his boot camps and let the people know that since he had literally millions of dollars of unused standby rates, he couldn't use them all. He would sell them to his customers who attended his boot camps. But he got creative. Here's what he would do. If you attended one of his $15,000 or $25,000 boot camps, he would sell you the advertising that you were looking for, say, for at his cost, 10 cents on the dollar, 40 cents on the dollar, whatever he paid, provided he could share in either the back end that company had, or he would take one of his joint venture partners who had a perfect product or service to be a back end for that company, and he would get 25, 50% of that. This guy, within about 5 years, ladies and gentlemen, probably more like 3 years, he turned this into a side multi-million dollar business. Now, here's the thing. because he was so busy with his other corporate clients. And this was making money, but it was just something he was doing on the side. He ended up selling this company in a no money down kind of transaction. He didn't really go into all the details, the minutia, but it was two proteges who had come to one of his company's really expensive offline boot camps. And the deal was he would stay on and consult. In exchange to pay off his fee, they would license the company from him, so he kept a royalty, and they ended up paying him anywhere from $1.5 million to $2.5 million a year. And I don't know how long they can go on. I don't even know if this guy's still doing this with the company. But the point is, he sold it off to these guys after he trained them and showed them what to do. And he stayed on as a consultant, and he got a license fee for it. Now, ladies and gentlemen, that's what's possible for you and I when there's an economic downturn. So, entrepreneur, don't let that word economic recession get you down. What it should do is inspire you and I to realize there's some bona fide opportunities out here if you open your eyes. So, on that note, for those of you who want to discover how you can add an additional 25% more gross profit to your bottom line, you want to do so in the next 90 days or less without having to add any new customers or clients, then, ladies and gentlemen, what you're really saying is you want to grab your free 9-page special report. You just head over to youcanmarketonline.com/sales, because that's where you can get it. Now, entrepreneur, I do have a question for you. Who else do you know in business right now who's struggling, who could use some help? Do they respect your opinion? Because if they do, I want you to forward this video to them and help them out. They'll thank you for it later. On the other hand, you just listen to this video. If you're wondering what you need to do to get to the next level, you probably need to grab that 22-part Small Business Marketing Mastery Series, because it's an additional free 22 email sequential lessons spread out. It's my free gift to you. It's my way of saying thank you. Welcome to the inner circle. It's a $97 value, probably worth way more than that if you'll implement a tiny bit of what you'll be exposed to. But here's the point. Let's say you subscribe to the inner circle. You read the emails, you read the 9-page special report, and for whatever reason you conclude, this really ain't for me. Then, ladies and gentlemen, please feel free to unsubscribe anytime you wish, for whatever reason you want. This is Mark Newsom, Mr. Marketing. We'll see you again next time, entrepreneur, on the Marketing Minute.